The biblical misconception. This is part 1. I've already posted about this. And it's Noah. First of all, welcome to my office. That's what it looks like. I moved the iPad that I'm recording on, but it is so precariously balanced on what's on top right now. Alright, because there's no ceiling to this room, so it looks horrible, so I just put it like this. But this whole series is about biblical misconceptions. Things that we've been taught that mainly been taught, at least for me, was in Sunday school, which there's nothing wrong with this. I'm not knocking Sunday school or anything. It's that just because you're taught something, it doesn't mean that it's the exact 100% story. I wanted to just say right there, I wanted to say it's not the truth, but it is the truth, it's just not the full story. So I've learned that the easiest way to do this and to know is question. Literally question everything. I don't know if I've said it before or if I said it in my last video, but the way I've learned so much with God is He taught me just to question everything. Not in a bad way, but to question everything as in, how is that possible? And this morning I was reminded that the example that I got was, I know, and you should know, that we can launch a spaceship to the moon, okay? But just knowing the fact that we can launch a spaceship to the moon, and it is possible to get to the moon with a spaceship, doesn't mean I can build a spaceship and launch it to the moon, and I can walk on the moon myself. I could build a spaceship, and I could launch it, and I could get to the moon and walk on the moon with it. But the way I'd have to do that, and anyone, you'd have to ask questions. You'd have to ask how to do this, how to do that. You'd learn stuff, and you'd say, there's no way that's possible, and then you'd learn how it's possible. So it's just the same way that when you find it hard, something, spiritual, how is this possible? It's not you doubting it or doing something wrong. It's not saying that it's not true. It's you want to make, you need to question things to get answers. You can question perfection, question God. Does God exist? Okay, well that would sound like, that's probably one of the crazier questions you can ask in a normal sense. Trust me, there's way crazier questions you come up upon. But God's not offended by your questions. If you say, God, do you exist? Okay, well, to answer that, you'd have to say, God, do you exist? Well, first of all, you're talking to God, so He's going to answer you. But you have to answer it so that God will prove to you not just He exists, but how He exists, why He exists. So when you question something, like I started with Noah here, in Genesis chapter 7, well, Genesis chapter 6 is where it starts, 6 to 9, but chapter 7 is once the chronological things start taking order in place, which is what I'm hitting up. So, you question things. So I said, 40 days and 40 nights, okay. But then I heard a teaching one day, and I heard that, and I started getting the sense that maybe it wasn't just 40 days and 40 nights. Now, I don't know if everyone does this or it's just me, but I didn't go and try to look and find out that it was just 40 days or 40 nights that Noah was on the ark. Because you hear it rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, that part is true. But after the 40 days and 40 nights, or during that, it says that there was 150 days where the water rose. Not because of rain, just came out of the earth. And scientists know that there's, you can debate things over and over about science and what's really, what's happening and not. But that there's a cavity in the earth where aquifers, water, wells, where there is this huge layer of water in the earth that if it were to surface would cover the highest mountains. Now, to say that science would prove it, and it's not Christian science, secular science, worldly science, that it will prove the fact the Bible is correct. To me, that's awesome, because that's why I love learning about science, about space, and about, another thing is with asking questions, you can learn anything. Because you don't have to be worried about getting caught up in the wrong things. When I learn something, I'm not worried about I'm going to be misguided or misinformed or my belief system's going to be messed up because I learned the wrong thing. I could watch the most secular science thing about aliens. I could watch the fact that God doesn't exist and how evolution happens. But this morning, when I was at the gym, I heard this from one of the few people that I trust everything they say. And they said it just like this. It was perfect. That behind every lie, there's truth. And I know that I've heard this too, that the best lies are based off of truth. Because to make a lie up from scratch, that's pretty difficult. But to base it off of something that's already true makes it a lot easier to lie about it or to make up a story around it. So no matter what you're hearing or learning, now you have to do this all with God's permission, and you do this all with walking with God. But to question things is awesome. He's never going to get mad at you for asking a question. Okay? That's how you learn. Now to go about Noah here, which is what I'm starting with, the long introduction here, is 40 days and 40 nights. Noah 40-40. That's what I'm calling it. Well, like I said, it's Genesis 6-9 is the story of Noah. And then here we got, in verse 7:11, it says, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, and on the 17th day of the month. So he's 600, 2 months, and 17 days. So the Bible's counting him like a little toddler who's saying they're 2.5 years old in 3 days. But 600, 2 months, and 17 days. That's when the watery depths burst open, the floodgates skies were open, and the rain fell on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. On that same day, Noah, along with his sons, his 3 sons, Noah's wife, and his sons' wives, they entered the ark. Everything, all the animals entered, 2 by 2, and then the Lord shut them in. The flood continued for 40 days on the earth. The water increased and lifted up the ark so that it rose above the earth. I'm going to have to do a video of what really is happening here because there's some things, but just trust me for now. We're going to go chronological order here. So the waters surged above them, surged above the mountains, higher than 20 feet. Every creature perished, everything that crawls on the earth, birds. Doesn't say anything about fish, because I don't think Noah had fish on the ark. So it's why you can say there might be dinosaurs in the ocean still. So that's why you don't doubt science, you question it. Everything on dry land died. He wiped out every living thing that was on the surface of the ground. That's exactly what it says. Genesis 7:22 and 23. So in Genesis 8, the flood recedes. It says, God remembered Noah, as well as the wildlife and the livestock that were with him on the ark. God caused a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters began to subside. The sources of the watery depths and the floodgates, the skies were closed, and the rain from heaven skies stopped. There's a lot of things going on here, and even when I was reading this and studying and just writing this down, I only have 1 page of notes on the chronological, but and no matter what version I read, this is so confusing as in timeline, what's happening, because it like overlaps itself. As in 150 days plus 150 days, but then the 40 days happen in part of that, and but I know the beginning and I know the end. In between is, for now, not the important part. It's the point that this is not, like we always would think, 40 days and 40 nights. So, we got 600, 2 months, and 17 days. Well, then it says, in 7:24, which is already here on the page, and the water surged on the earth for 150 days. That's certainly more than 40 days and 40 nights. So now he's on the ark for at least 150 days. And then it says it took another 150 days for the waters to subside. 150 plus 150 is 300. 300 is 10 months, roughly. That's 10 months. Longer than 40 days and 40 nights. It says in 8:4, the ark came to rest in the 7th month on the 17th day of the month. So that's 5 months after it started, which is 150 days. The 10th month on the first day, in 8:5, the waters continued to recede until the 10th month. In the 10th month on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains were visible. After 40 days more, Noah opened the window of the and this is what I like. After 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he made. I just have that he made underlined because the ark wasn't built with windows like you see the little pictures with the giraffe's head hanging out. There was no windows. It was a box. And it said that he made this hole, this window. Sent out a raven, and he sent out a dove, and then another dove. And when the dove did not return, then he knew it was safe. And then we'll go all the way to 8:13. Genesis 8:13. In the 601st year, in the first month, on the first day of the month, the water had covered the earth, was dried up. Then Noah removed the ark's cover and saw the surface of the ground was drying. And finally, Genesis 8:14. By the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was dry. Now that makes it, to say it this way, the floods start when Noah got on the ark. He was 600, 2 months, and 17 days old. Or young, because back in these days that was pretty young. You were like, what, 3/4 of the way through your life? 600. And then he got off the ark when he was 601, 2 months, and 27 days. So, 600, 2 months, 17 days, 601, 2nd month, 27 days. That is 1 year and 10 days worth of time. And if you're wondering about the young part, it says here in the next part somewhere here, let's see, let's go to, well, there's a story in between. Okay, so Noah lived 350 years after the flood. So Noah's life lasted 950 years. 950! That's what we need to do next. Next, we need to teach you about something of how... That actually is one of the points. In fact, I can prove it to you. Let's see. Can you see that? We have to die? Really? Well, this has got to get written still, but it basically is written already. But if you want to see my notes for here for what all the order was of everything, it's sloppy, but you can see it. Who cares? This is all the verses, the chronological order of Noah. I'm looking at this and it's backwards. I'm only assuming when I post this video it's going to be flipped around forwards. So, thank you for watching and enjoying. This is just part 1. I'm going to have 4 or 5 more of these about biblical misconceptions. And they're not even just misconceptions. They're more of just a deeper understanding of what we've never been taught. God said that he locked up the scrolls. Those aren't for your time. And he's revealing those things that were once hidden. So when you have something and you get a revelation, share it. Don't keep it just to yourself. If you don't have a place to share it, if you don't have anyone to know, you don't know how to tell anybody, then tell me. Send me a video. Do anything. Whatever I can do to help, I'll put it up on the channel, anything about a biblical misconception or anything in general. Just whatever God shows you, just please don't hold it to yourself. Share it with others so that as a body of people, we can come that much closer to perfection and knowing that much more. So thank you. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. Since this is YouTube, if you could please give it a thumbs up. I don't know what that does for me. But if you subscribe to my channel, which is where you are right now, subscribe. That way, when I post another video, it's going to automatically come up on your news feed. That way you don't have to go find it, and I don't have to keep saying on Facebook every time I post a new video. I probably will. But this way, if you're on YouTube, you're just going to see it automatically. I know I subscribe to the channels that I like because I don't have to go look at them every time. It makes it a million times easier. So please subscribe. That way you know when I post the next one. Thank you. God bless.